Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot of different things. It has been a pretty wild 2 months. A lot of things have happened. And it's time to kind of go back and look at some updates with some of these disasters that have taken place. I woke up this morning to this video on X. This is Hong Kong in China. We had already been looking at Fuzhou, which had experienced this crazy flooding that seems to be becoming the norm across the world, especially in Europe. But China's seen a lot of it. And so it's a new location that's experiencing this insane flooding. It looks like this is a shopping mall, and that entire bottom floor is essentially flooded almost all the way up to the ceiling. Okay, so, and I have a new thing I'm going to start using. I kind of already started using Google Earth for fires to track like cities that have burned down. But I've decided I'm going to go ahead and make these folders, one folder for each month. And that way we can look month by month on a map where all these things are taking place. Okay, so right now, all I have is August and September, and there's these 3 locations in China that have seen this insane flooding, and we're going to look at the rest of the world because there's been a lot. There's been a lot of updates. I have a few new things to share with you. So, but first, before we do that, I want to get into what I think is the right context of what we're about to see. Okay, D&C 88, verse 88. And after your testimony cometh wrath and indignation upon the people. For after your testimony cometh the testimony of earthquakes that shall cause groanings in the midst of her, and men shall fall upon the ground and shall not be able to stand. And also cometh the testimony of the voice of thunderings, and the voice of lightnings, and the voice of tempests, and the voice of the waves of the sea heaving themselves beyond their bounds. And all things shall be in commotion, and surely men's hearts shall fail them, for fear shall come upon all people. And angels shall fly through the midst of heaven, crying with a loud voice, sounding the trump of God, saying, prepare ye, O inhabitants of the earth, for the judgment of our God is come. Behold, and lo, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. And immediately there shall appear a great sign in heaven, and all people shall see it together. And of course, that's the sign of the Son of Man. That is essentially when it's all over. And I do think that this is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the Lord's sermon, the Lord's testimony. Of course, we're still doing missionary work. The angels are still flying around the different parts of the world. And of course, when we're talking about angels, we're talking about missionaries, as well as the prophets, apostles, general authorities, because they are also missionaries, sounding the warning or sounding the trump of God. But, as we noted in the April 2020 General Conference, this has been going on for 200 years now, and I think things are coming to a close. So next, let's go ahead and look at some video before we get into all the details and look at the map. So here's Hong Kong. We just looked at that. This is also Hong Kong. That is kind of a frightening sight, all that water rushing. Thankfully, this is like a canal or a drainage area or something like that. You have bridges that go over it and people safely walking over. But you can tell, even though you're not from there, that the water level is pretty high and the waters just look like they are raging. Okay, where's this? Greece in Crimea. Disaster news, terrifying flood due to heavy rains in Crimea. There has been a lot of parts of Greece that have been flooding. As you already know, if you've watched my last several videos, we've looked at that. Here's that mall again in Hong Kong. It says Wong Tai Sin Central Metro. So maybe it's one of those deals where it's like a subway station or a metro station, but you have like shopping there too. Okay, this is also Hong Kong. And by the way, this event right here in Hong Kong, this is a record-breaking event. I think it's within the last 140 years, or essentially since records began, this is the worst rainfall, or the most intense rainfall that they've seen in Hong Kong. This is also Hong Kong. You can see the bottom floors of all these different buildings, which seem to be mostly businesses and small shops, flooded. Okay, this is from Nahel, Belgurs. The Thessalian plain in central Greece has literally turned into one enormous lake. Approximately 70,000 hectares of land are underwater. Let's convert that. Let's convert that to acres, because that's a number that I understand. 172,000 acres, almost 173,000 acres underwater in Greece. And here's some pictures. I think later on, if I'm not mistaken, I reposted. There's like another post that shows like the before and after. So, and then of course, you always have to have it. Whenever there's things like this going on, if it's in a major city, you always have the flooding down into the metro stations and the subway lines. You can count on, at this point, you know, after seeing this time and time again, you can count on it every time if it's a major city with subway. And it makes sense, right? Because it's below ground level, so of course, where's the water going to go? Here's a video of Greece, and just all those houses completely flooding all the way up to the rooftops. That looks like it's an entire, you know, city or village. It's probably a smaller town. It doesn't look like it's too densely populated, but still, you can see a lot of homes, and they're flooded. Now, this is something I wasn't able to verify. I'm going to share it anyway, so just take this one with a grain of salt. But this is supposedly right now. This account has it dated as yesterday in Chechnya, in Russia. I looked for it. I couldn't find any news stories that covered this, so I don't know for sure. I don't really doubt it, but like I said, oh my gosh. Holy cow. What was that just fell outside the window? My goodness. Ruined or damaged cars, and that looks really intense. Let me just look in case there's something new that's been posted. Let's see, Grozny, Russia news. It doesn't say anything. How about Storm, Russia? 1 month ago, 1 week ago. Yeah, there's nothing recent, so I can't say for sure if this is true or not. Okay, let's move on. Here's Hong Kong again. Sidewalks, streets turned into raging rivers. Hong Kong. No, this is in Shenzhen, China. Not sure where that's at exactly, but you know, and this is all because of that typhoon. I can't remember the name of the typhoon. I think it's like, well, we'll see it when we get to those stories, but it's essentially a strong typhoon that's affected a large portion of China. And this looks like it's in like a parking garage. And it seems that it's the lower levels because they're going up the ramp. I would assume that this right here is street level, what they're trying to get to. And what I'd like to know is, like, did this entire thing fill up? I don't know. But whatever the case, it's not a good situation. Oh, and in case you were wondering, the judicial overhaul protests in Israel, they're still going on. It's still going on. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, let's see. How many weeks judicial protest? 6 days ago, the 35th consecutive week in Israel, according to Haaretz. I don't know, what's ultimately going to happen as a result of this. At one point, Jerusalem was literally under siege because you had all these protesters, a very, very large group, march from Tel Aviv down to Jerusalem. They cut off like traffic and highways, and there were strikes going on in the country, so services were being shut down. And that's what happens when you have a siege. You cut off services and goods and supplies, and that essentially is what happened. Now, they passed that first law, and then after that, things kind of seemed to become less intense as far as the protests go. But it is still going on right now. 35th consecutive week. Is this going to play into, the end times? Is it going to play into whatever the siege on Jerusalem is actually going to be? Whether it's themselves or whether it's from foreign armies, is this going to somehow lead to that? I don't know, but I think it'd be wise for us to keep an eye on this because this is a major event taking place in Israel. Back to Hong Kong. Heaviest rain in at least 140 years. Can anybody read this? Do any of you know Chinese? If you do, put it in the comments below. And feel free to put a translation if you'd like. All right, what is this? Where is this? Where is it? Yeah, black rain alert. We'll read about what that is, but that's what happened in Hong Kong, a black rain alert. And I'm thinking, hey, lady, just forget about the umbrella. Just ditch the umbrella. Save yourself. Right there. Stand up. You can stand up. You don't need to. I'm pretty sure you can stand up at this point. But it's okay. That's a valid strategy. Do whatever feels natural. But, at this point, I think you have bigger concerns than the rain that's falling on your on your head. I'm going to assume that she's probably okay. I hope and pray that she ended up okay. I think that she did, because at this point, it looks like you could probably stand up and just go walk over there. But if it were me, I would have just given up on the umbrella. Hong Kong. Jeez. That is just mighty rushing water right there. Holy cow. There's like a guardrail here, so I don't know. This is probably a drainage, like a, whatever you call those, a drainage area, but maybe it's a street. Okay, we're going to be talking about this hurricane, Hurricane Lee. It's strengthened to a Category 5. In a previous video, we were wondering if that was going to happen, and it did. I'll show you the details in just a little bit. It was very odd what happened. Okay, here we are in Hong Kong again. You saw that guy, the water up to essentially his hips or his maybe belly button. Yeah, probably, hips. Oh yeah, here's the before and after. Northwestern Thessaly, Greece. All that farmland, all those houses flooded. Back to Hong Kong. Poor person. It looks like this is their condo or apartment. And, oh my gosh, water coming from the light fixtures, the lighting box. Pots and pans all over. This is very frustrating. That is a very frustrating situation. I can't confirm this, but Weatherman Seek says, today may be a historic day as hashtag recon has possibly found Category 5 status in hashtag Lee. This means every basin has had a Category 5 this year. Wow. And when they say Category 5, that's according to the way that we measure cyclones in the United States. Other parts of the world have different classifications, but by ours, I don't know what he means by basin other than if that means like, well, it doesn't mean oceans because you have South Pacific, Eastern Pacific, Western Pacific. That's all one ocean, but whatever a basin is, if you know what a basin is, put it in the comments below. I don't care to look into it too much, but feel free to put it in the comments below. All right, back in Greece, you have their, what I can only assume is maybe their Coast Guard or some branch of the military, most likely, rescuing people from rooftops. In this case, this elderly woman. All right. Oh, this is the name of the typhoon. Typhoon Haikui. So this has affected Hong Kong. It looks like this too, Shatajiao, Shenzhen, and also Fuzhou. Wong Tai Sin Station, and as the subway car or the subway train is going, water all around. I can't believe that they're still operating like that they didn't just like shut it down for safety purposes. What, you're supposed to get out of the train into that? Like, okay, bye. Have a safe trip home. Hope it's not a very long walk. Eric Young says we have black rain and major flooding in Hong Kong right now. Black rain, I can't remember the exact name, but we're about to see that's like the classification for this. That's how they classify this weather event. All this rain from the typhoon. Hong Kong. And I don't know if that's like a Buddhist temple, but they're, well, I guess they would know if they're making progress by doing that. It must be working. I don't know. But anyway, that, and then we're at the end. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. We're going to work our way from west to east. Okay. This article from the New York Times: after 3 weeks of wildfire exile, a city of 20,000 returns. So let's go to the map and let's go to Canada. You may recall, or this may be your first time hearing this, that the entire city, which is the capital city of Northwest Territories in Canada, Yellowknife, was evacuated. And by the way, I figured out a better way to do this to where there's not so much text right here. So I'm just like starting to do this today. So I realized I'm just going to have like the name of the city, and then you can put a description, and then you can double click on this, and then a box will pop up and you can read what's in the description. So just bear with me. But so because of wildfires around this city, the entire town evacuated. 20,000 people. And it was quite a sight to see. We looked at videos on X, and there were long lines of people trying to get to the airport. And I was wondering, okay, is this going to be the next Lahaina? Is this going to be the next Paradise, California? Is this city going to burn down? Well, it looks like everything turned out all right. This happens in the midst of Canada's worst wildfire season in recorded history. They're having their worst wildfire season. And so much so that this entire city, the capital of Northwest Territories, was evacuated. So let's see what it says in the story. Okay, 22 days after they were evacuated from the capital of Northwest Territories in the face of a racing wildfire, the roughly 20,000 residents of Yellowknife began returning home on Wednesday to refrigerators filled with spoiled food, dang it, to restart their lives in a city that averted disaster. So that's great. The fire that menaced Yellowknife enforced the August 16th evacuation order continues to burn, and the entire territory remains under a state of emergency because of wildfires. But during the evacuation, firefighting crews managed to keep the fire about 15 kilometers or about 10 miles from the city's western edges. So great job, firefighters, in saving that town. And I'm glad that everybody ended up okay. So that's what happened with Yellowknife in Canada. All right. Now, the next one up, what do we got? Oh, oops, this was supposed to be first. Okay, so we're going to look at what's going on with Maui and Lahaina. What's the update on that? Hopefully you're aware that the city of Lahaina on the island of Maui in Hawaii, almost the entire thing was burnt, except for just a few things, which included 2 of our chapels. There was also a Catholic church. So 2 of our chapels, a Catholic church, and then the historic banyan tree, last that I saw, is still alive. They're working really hard to keep it alive. But aside from that, pretty much everything else burned. There was also a lighthouse, I remember. So what's the update on that? This is from New York Magazine. Why are hundreds of people still missing on Maui? The Maui fire's human toll is horrific. 115 people have been confirmed dead after a rapidly moving blaze swept across the west side of the Hawaiian island earlier this month, making it the deadliest wildfire in the United States in over a century. So from the last time that we checked on this, there hasn't been any more added to the death toll. It remains at 115. But let's continue. Quote, "No one has ever seen this that is alive today," Maui Police Chief John Pelater said at a news conference in August. Continuing, he says, "Not this size, not this number, not this volume, and we're done." I'd have to dispute the size and the number. Maybe not the number as far as like the death toll goes. Let's hop over here. This is my spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of the largest wildfires, both largest and deadliest and most destructive wildfires in these different locations, whether they're territories, provinces, states, or countries. So for the United States, for example, in California in 2020, you had the August complex fire, which was 1 million acres. And that was the largest wildfire in California state history. So I don't know if he's just talking about Hawaii. You know, maybe I'm just an idiot and that's what he's talking about. Maybe that's what he's talking about. But it just talked about making it the deadliest wildfire in the United States. And then it says, no one has ever seen this that's alive today. Not this size. Well, maybe not in Hawaii. Not this number. I'm not sure about that. Not this volume. I don't know what that means. And we're done. End quote. Officials expect that the number of dead will rise as the FBI and local law enforcement officials try to whittle down the number of missing, which remains stubbornly high over a month after the blaze. As of early September, so this is like the most recent number that I've been able to find. As of early September, 385 people remain missing. A list that officials on the island expect to update every week as the slow work to find the unaccounted for drags on. So that's what we're currently at, according to New York Magazine. At one point, the missing, it was like above 1,000. I think like at its peak, it was like at 1,100. This is according to like official reporting and stuff like that. But anyway, that's where we're at on that. Okay. Now, let's move on to Kelowna. in British Columbia. In fact, probably just be easier if I do it like this. Okay, so Kelowna and West Kelowna and the surrounding area. You see, that I realized when I put this in that I could make it look like this, where you have like this description box. So that's what I'm going to do in the future. So you have Kelowna on the east side. You have West Kelowna on the west side of this lake. And from what I can tell, most of the damage took place in West Kelowna, although the fire did jump the lake and there was fire over on this side. Okay, this was another city that we were concerned about, concerned that maybe it could burn down in its entirety. Anything's possible. So here is the update. This is from CBC. On emotional bus tours, some wildfire evacuees can return to West Kelowna, British Columbia, to see what's left of their homes. And judging by this picture, for a lot of them, almost nothing. Almost nothing. There's another picture that is awful. In total, the Kelowna area has seen 181 homes partially or totally destroyed due to wildfires, according to the regional district. So that's good news from what we were looking at before and what could have been, because it was looking pretty bad. I can't go back to my X account and go all the way to the Kelowna fire, the fires, the video from that. There were a lot of videos. It looked really apocalyptic. But anyway, it seems that only 181, which is still a really high number and very sad, but it could have been worse. And once again, good job, firefighters that fought that really ominous fire. Oh, and here you go. Sorry about the cough. I am currently fighting that with my medication. Approximate fire boundaries. So you can see most of it was over here. And then some north of downtown Kelowna. Okay. I think that's it for that. All right, let's go on to the next one. Another city that we were worried about was Medical Lake in Washington. Let's go to Medical Lake. Oh, I didn't put Medical Lake on here. Sorry, when I'm preparing these videos, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to put in all this stuff. So inevitably, I'm going to mess up. I'll have to add this later, but we'll just do it manually for now. Medical Lake is a town that's southwest of Spokane, Washington. Spokane is a sizable area, city, and you could say it has like a little metro area. It's a big small town, a big small city. Anyway, southwest and south of Fairchild Air Force Base, you have Medical Lake. And just like in Kelowna, there was a fire that started roughly over here, and it jumped the lake. In fact, I think it jumped both of these lakes. It at least jumped one lake. Okay. So this was another one that we were like, oh my gosh. And there were huge evacuations going on in this city as well. So let's look at the update. All evacuations lifted for Gray Fire in Medical Lake. This is dated just 3 days ago, September 5th. And here you see, thankfully, homes in the background that were not affected. But on this side of the street, it looks like an entire house was burnt down. So as of the 5th, it says the fire is 97% contained and has destroyed over 240 homes. So as far as structures go, much more damage, it would seem, with Medical Lake. And it says destroyed, so I don't know if that would be the same as what we saw in Kelowna, partially or totally. Maybe they're counting both of that when they say destroyed. But anyway, that's where it's at. So it's pretty much taken care of. 240 homes. It wasn't the entire city, as you can see, but it was a sizable portion of the city. All right, next, we are going to move down to, let's see, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Get rid of that. That should not be checked. We're going to move to Louisiana. Have you heard about this in Louisiana? Why do I have this in Louisiana? I'll show you. Thanks to Louisa Penton and her comment, she said, Jared, how are all these places flooding? Just regular storms/rains? Yeah, exactly. How is this happening? That is a good question. And there could be a few answers, but in this video that she's commenting on, we talked about man-made storms, or at least storms, hurricanes aided by artificial means. I would encourage you to watch that video. You know, there's a lot to think about, and there's good reason to believe that, you know, they do have the ability to influence these things. But later in her comment, she says, by the way, Louisiana just experienced its worst historical wildfire as a state. In fact, we still have a fire ban. So when she says we, I'm assuming that she is in Louisiana. Feel free to put that in the comments, Louisa. But thanks for bringing that up. And of course, I went and looked up the article to verify. And according to 15 News, KADN, images from space show 31,000 burnt acres from Louisiana's largest wildfire caused by arsonist. Now, I was thinking about this because as I was going through all these different stories of all these different wildfires going on, it seems that there were a number of them where it was determined that it was caused by arson. So what I'm thinking about doing, and this is going to take work, you know, it always takes work, but that's what gives things value. I'm probably going to add a column right here for the cause, you know, according to, you know, mainstream reporting, and I'm fine with that. Of course, even though they say that it was caused by something, that may not be the case. Of course, you know that, I know that. But I'm going to just, I'll put the cause according to the reporting, and then you can be the judge if you think it was something else. But anyway, this is my spreadsheet that I have for, like I said, the largest or most destructive or deadliest. And sometimes it's all three. Well, actually, no, I don't have one that's all three, but I have a few, like the Lahaina fire that was, according to what I found, the largest and the deadliest for Hawaii. Well, now we have Louisiana. The name of the fire is the Tiger Island Fire. Later on, I'll put that column to have the cause for all these fires. And it's just incredible when you look at this list. Look at 2023 alone, which begins right here. My first entry for 2023 is British Columbia in Canada. Before 2023, I already had British Columbia's largest wildfire, which was in 2018, the Tweedsmuir Complex Fire. But that got beat by the Donnie Creek Fire this year. So British Columbia has had its largest single wildfire. Canada, as a country, for the entire wildfire season, taking in all the wildfires, has had its worst wildfire season. Hawaii, with the Maui/Lahaina fire and fires. Okay. Greece, with the Alexandroupolis wildfire, and because Greece is part of the European Union, in European Union history, it is also the largest wildfire. And now we have Louisiana, and that's just this year. Last year we had New Mexico with its largest wildfire. The year before that, Russia had its worst wildfire season. Colorado had its most destructive wildfire with 1,084 structures burned. And then we talked about California in 2020. 2020 was a pretty bad year as far as wildfires go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many do we have this year? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that I have everything on here. When it comes to wildfires, you'd think it'd be easier to find, but it's not. With some of them it is. But say that I wanted to find the largest wildfire in Nebraska state history. When it comes to locations like that don't typically experience wildfires, there's not as good of like reporting, or it's harder to find. That's just been my experience. I've checked, Wikipedia articles, and that does help sometimes, but it's not like it's complete. So to the best of my knowledge, this is what has taken place. And this spreadsheet begins in 2004. So you can see that since 2004, all these different places, the Western United States, Canada, and other places, since 2004, many of them have had their worst wildfires, whether it was the largest or most destructive or deadliest. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. And to me, it doesn't matter if it's arson. It doesn't matter if it's lightning. It doesn't matter if it was a careless camper that left a fire burning or something like that. What matters is the impact that it has on the surrounding population and on the world, and the images that it brings to your mind. Again, just because we can explain why something happened doesn't mean that it's not a sign. A lot of people think that way, but that's not the case. It doesn't matter how it happened. If we come to find out that most of these are because of arson, it's still a sign of the times. It means that people have gone crazy with setting wildfires. It's a new level of wickedness. If it's covert, like if it's being perpetrated by, a state actor or some organization, then, that country or countries or organization or organizations have reached a new low. It's a sign of the times any way you look at it. When it's things that are like the biggest, it's record breaking, it has a really big impact, I view it as a sign. But you do what you want. So let's get back to Louisiana. So Louisiana, Maryville, Louisiana. Check out these new satellite images above of the wildfire that has burned more than 31,000 acres in Louisiana. Now, compared to other wildfires, that's not like huge, it's not that bad. But the fact remains, agriculture and forestry authorities in Beauregard Parish say the largest fire in state history was caused by arson. So they have declared it the largest wildfire in state history. And here's another article. This is a more updated one. This is from today. It says, as of Friday morning, the Tiger Island fire is 71% contained. So looks like it's kind of winding down. I haven't seen anything about buildings destroyed or any deaths or anything like that. So it seems like it's probably going to grow maybe a little bit more, but it's crossed that threshold to where now it's the largest wildfire in Louisiana state history. Now, let's take a look at this hurricane. Hurricane Lee becomes rare storm to rapidly intensify from Category 1 to Category 5 in 24 hours. Okay. Hurricane Lee, and by the way, why don't we take a look at Hurricane Lee on Zoom Earth. So this is it right here. Okay. It began around Guinea and Sierra Leone. Came over here. At this point, it became a category 1. And then category 2. Then it just like goes directly from 2 to 4. And then for this short time right here in the pink, category 5. And according to Zoom Earth, with its measurements here, where it's reporting, wind speeds got to 165 miles per hour. And now it is back down to a category 4. And it looks like the projections have it remaining at a category 4, at least to somewhere in here. But only time will tell. So let's go back to the article. Hurricane Lee, now a powerful category 4 hurricane, is one of only a handful of hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin during the satellite era to intensify by 85 miles per hour or more within a 24-hour period. So it's rare. It's one of only a handful during the satellite era, which I don't know how far back that goes. The storm intensified more than twice the National Hurricane Center's definition of rapid intensification. Rapid intensification is defined as a storm increasing in wind speed by 35 miles per hour or more in 24 hours. At 5 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, Lee was a Category 1 hurricane with maximum sustained winds of 80 miles per hour. 24 hours later, Lee had strengthened to a Category 5 hurricane with whopping 165 mile per hour winds. Other notable storms to have achieved this include Hurricane Matthew in 2016 and the record Hurricane Wilma in 2005. In just 24 hours, Wilma increased from 75 miles per hour, a Category 1 hurricane. And by the way, I think once it gets to 74, I think 74 miles per hour is when it turns into a hurricane. Let's just look at it again. What is it? The Stafford hurricane scale. Safford scale? Saffir-Simpson. I just want to double check this. Yeah, I was right. 74. So it went from almost like the bare minimum wind speed for a hurricane. This is talking about Wilma, not the current hurricane. So back in 2005, Wilma went from the bare minimum to become a hurricane to a Category 5 within 24 hours. And in that case, it got to 185 miles per hour. So stronger than the current hurricane. But still, Hurricane Lee is more on the rare side. And in the Atlantic, it's our first Category 5 of this year. On USA Today, in this article, why did Lee rapidly intensify? Quote, "This is one of the most impressive rapid intensification episodes I've ever seen in the Atlantic." Meteorologist Levi Cowan. By the way, that's definitely a Jewish name. I don't know if he is Jewish, but whenever you have Levi and or Cowan, because Cowan is basically a variant of Cohen, like or how would you spell it? Like Kohen, Cohen. That's the word that they used for priest. So in all likelihood, he's a descendant of Aaron, Moses' brother. But anyway, meteorologist Levi Cohen, founder of tropicaltidbits.com, wrote Thursday on X, formerly Twitter, "Hurricane Lee went from having no eye in the morning to a Category 5 by the evening. Absolutely incredible," Cowan said. Water temperatures in a swath across the Atlantic are much warmer than normal, averaging nearly 85 degrees, the Hurricane Center said. And here's like a map of water temperatures. And then here's the spaghetti models. So it doesn't look like it's going to make landfall at all. It looks like maybe there's just this one model right here that takes it all the way across Florida and basically into like Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. But the vast majority of them move it up this way toward the north. And two of them take them across, well, one of them takes them across Maine, and then the other one over Nova Scotia. And I'm not sure if like this is like New Brunswick over here. I'm not good with my Canadian provinces, but up into Canada. But by that time, obviously, it'll probably have weakened from a Category 4. And maybe by this point, it'll only be like a tropical storm or something like that. I don't know. But so all in all, hopefully there's not much to worry about. And in any case, it's no longer a Category 4, which doesn't mean that it's not dangerous, but it's not as bad as it was. So, and then I updated my hurricane spreadsheet. So now, the last time that I had this, it was a Category 1. We had 2 Category 1s, but it went all the way up to Category 5. So now we're tied with last year in terms of Category 5 hurricanes in the Atlantic. And if we get to 2, then we'll tie with 2019 and 2017. And according to my spreadsheet, the most Category 5s that we've had since 1913 was, I just saw it, in 2005, where there were 5 Category 5s in the Atlantic. So, and if we take both the Pacific and the Atlantic, if we take both the Atlantic and the Pacific, this is where we're at for the year. 11 total hurricanes. So we're coming up on 2018. 8 major hurricanes, which is more than last year by 2. And remember, the hurricane season goes until November 30th, so we still have a few months left. And then total storms, we're just 10 behind last year. 2020 was a bad year in terms of total storms and, and pretty much everything else. Anyway, so that's where we're at with that. Now, let's move on. Let's go back to the map. I have these 2 right here for Hurricane Idalia. One for Atlanta, Georgia, one for Tallahassee. Remember, we had this earthquake in Bogota in Colombia that recently happened. We had flooding down in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. And the type of flooding that we've been seeing in these other places. And by the way, I'm just thinking about this now. My last video that I did was about BRICS, the economic bloc that is comprised by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. But Argentina is one of those countries that want to join BRICS. And lo and behold, they got hit by this flooding. Just interesting that Brazil and Argentina both got hit by that. Now we're going across the Atlantic. This is more recent, actually. You'll remember there was that crazy flooding in Madrid, but the article that we're about to cover has to do with this storm called Daniel, which they were making it seem like it was a cyclone, or in other words, a hurricane. And it affected Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Specifically, when we're talking about capital cities, Athens and Istanbul. All right. And this is that wildfire, the largest wildfire in Greek and European Union history, recorded history. It's been a bad year for Greece in terms of wildfires, and now they have this flooding that's going on. So this is the Associated Press. The death toll from flooding in central Greece has increased to 10, while 4 others remain missing. Athens, Greece. The death toll from severe flooding in central Greece rose to 10 people Friday, while another 4 remained missing. The country's civil protection minister said rescue crews and helicopters and boats ferried hundreds of people from inundated villages to safety. And we saw that over on X. Flooding triggered by rainstorms also hit neighboring Bulgaria and Turkey, killing a total of 22 people in all 3 countries since rains began on Tuesday. This is just another one of those things, like, you know, if you were living in Bulgaria or Turkey or Greece, you know, would you expect, like, okay, this week I'm going to die because of, you know, unheard of rain and flooding that's going to turn all these city streets into raging rivers? You know, do you ever expect for that to happen? No. It just goes to show that anything could happen at any time, unexpectedly. We should always be prepared, always, because you never know. And I guarantee that these people didn't expect for this to happen. All right, was there anything else in this article? No. All right, so we already saw the videos, you know, from those 3 places, but that's where they stand. 22 people so far dead. And now let's go ahead and finish off with Hong Kong. This is the newest thing on my radar, both the Louisiana wildfire, well, fire, I guess it's not so much a wildfire, I don't know, but fire, and then the Hong Kong flooding. Hong Kong, Shenzhen deluged by heaviest rain on record. Now that's interesting because Beijing, I don't know, heaviest rainfall. So here we go. Let's look at PBS. So this was just last month. Beijing records heaviest rainfall in 140 years, severe flooding and 21 deaths. But that was as of August 2nd. I'd have to go back and check if that's risen, but I'm not going to right now. So, you know, I don't need to tell you. Let's hop over there on the map. These are 2 really large and prominent cities in China. Whenever I think of China, and frankly, pretty much the only cities that I really know are Beijing, the capital, Shanghai, which I think is like over here somewhere, and then Hong Kong. That used to belong to the British. They, in some kind of weird deal, they were leasing the city. But anyway, it returned to China. I can't remember when, 1999, 2000. It was like, I think it was somewhere around there. But so you have like these 2 major cities in China that both got hit with this insane, crazy flooding from that typhoon Haikui. And then you also had Fuzhou, which also seems like it's a, you know, somewhat sizable city. It's not small, just judging by the satellite. So, okay, let's go back to the article. Reuters. Hong Kong, September 8th. That's today. The heaviest rain since records began 140 years ago. Drenched Asian financial hub, Hong Kong, on Friday, killing 2 people and injuring more than 140, state media reported, as unusually wet weather caused by typhoons brought more disruption to southern China. Quote, I've never seen scenes like this before. Even during previous typhoons, it was never this severe. It's quite terrifying, said Hong Kong assistant nurse Connie Cheung, 65. Hong Kong's Weather Bureau issued its highest black rainstorm warning early on Friday. So that's what I was talking about in those X posts. Black rainstorm. It said more than 200 millimeters or 7.9 inches of rain was recorded on Hong Kong's main island, the Kowloon district, in the northeastern part of the city's northwest territory. I got Yellowknife on the brain. The city's new territories from late on Thursday. Here's some pictures, taxi cabs, and that's pretty much it. So, yeah, those are all the updates. And if we zoom out and you just look at the little place markers that I have on here, this is just for the last 2 months. And remember, we're only at the beginning of September. Today is the 8th, but we already, so just these ones right here, you take away this little fire icon. These blue ones have all taken place within the last 8 days. Okay. Those have all taken place within the last 8 days. The fire, that is from last month. And then if we hop over here, we have Buenos Aires, Bogota, Florida and Georgia, Louisiana now. And then we have all the fire stuff going on. And then in Juneau, I don't know if you remember this, but on August 4th, you had flooding in Juneau, the capital of Alaska. And then Lahaina. Can you believe that Lahaina, it hasn't even been 2 months yet? Oh, in fact, today is the anniversary of the beginning of that fire. It started, based on my sources, it started on the 8th, which was a month ago. I don't know about you, but for me, it feels like that was an eternity ago. That feels like that was forever ago. It hasn't felt like fresh on my mind for a while. Like it is in one sense, but it really feels like that was so long ago. And I guess maybe we'll close on this note. Let me look up Neal A. Maxwell, compression of events. Okay, this is from April 1992, General Conference. Compression. I think it's always great to review things and review different quotes. Again, sometimes things are so big, so grand, that you can hardly even perceive what's happening because you're so close to it and so much is happening. And or when it comes to quotes, sometimes it takes time and effort to really let something sink in, whatever is being communicated before you understand it truly. Now, my brethren, these are your days in the history of the church. Mark well what kind of days they will be. Days when, with special visibility, the Lord will make bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations. God will also hasten, quote unquote, his work, from D&C 8873. He will also shorten the last days for the elect's sake. Hence, there will be a compression of events. Furthermore, all things shall be in commotion. Only those in the process of becoming the men and women of Christ will be able to keep their spiritual balance. Brethren, may we walk by faith, and if necessary, even on our knees. So, yeah, I do believe that there's a compression of events. You can say, oh, well, there's always wildfires, there's always flooding. Yeah, that's true. But what I'm keeping track of is record-breaking events. Things that break records. They're the largest of their kind. It's the heaviest rainfall. Or it's just like really, really intense things. It wasn't before, a couple years ago that I was used to seeing this kind of flooding in Europe. I'm sure that there has been from time to time, but it's becoming so much more frequent where you're having this just intense flooding, the likes of which you usually see in like third world countries, or you typically see like in India or Pakistan, places like that, maybe Southeast Asia and other places. So I'm keeping track of notable things. And this month, it hasn't been too hard to, get a bunch of them. What's the rest of the month going to hold? What does the rest of the month hold in store for us? Don't know, let alone the rest of the year. Earlier this year on, I think it was on June 30th. Yeah, it was on June 30th, or maybe it was July 1st. I did my half year review. I used my timeline, Second Coming, and we reviewed everything that had happened the first half of the year, and it was a lot. And I was wondering what's going to happen the second half of the year. And guess what? It's been a lot, and we're not even done yet. So tomorrow's going to be President Nelson's 99th birthday. And that means that he's going to be in his 100th year of life. If that confuses you, just remember, when you were born, that was your first year of life. And then, after a year had gone by, then you were 1 years old. And then you entered your second year of life. Right? So he's going to be in his 100th year, which may or may not be significant, but we will just have to see. All right, well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.